Mr. President, at moments like this, this isn't the government's money. It's not our money. It's the taxpayers' money. And I think it would be appropriate that we gave some of this money back to the taxpayers. Thank you.
Legislator Bronson.
Yes, Mr. President, I rise in support of the amendment and would like to point out, as Legislator Haney just said, someday, certainly, there is going to be a need to work on the infrastructure here, but today, what we do know is that every household is struggling to make ends meet. Every household is making very difficult decisions about what food to buy, what they can pay in tuition, gas prices, utility prices, and we just go on and on and on. As their level of income has stagnated, and here we are, we have a situation where ratepayers, who are taxpayers, have been paying into the program, and we're accumulating revenues and assets that today the district doesn't need. And although someday it may, and someday there is a borrowing mechanism, as Legislator Haney pointed out, the borrowing that occurred in the 70s and 80s, there's a borrowing mechanism to take place and to deal with that when it's necessary. But today, we have ratepayers who are struggling, and we ought to be giving them a break when the money is not needed for the system today. That's why I support this amendment. Thank you.
Any further discussion on the amendment? Legislator Rivera.
Thank you, Mr. President. Through you, Mr. President, I have a question for maybe some of the administration. What exactly happens to these funds that we're collecting right now?
Through the President, the funds received in the Pure Waters District, as with each of the Pure Waters District, is used to pay current operating expenses as well as debt service expenses incurred previously by the district.
Thank you. And through you, Mr. President, is it not true that this fund, the money that's in this fund right now, can only be used for that district?
Through the President, that's correct.
And through you, Mr. President, is it not also true that we all acknowledge that there is going to be work to be done on this system at some time, and that this will go towards that project? If that becomes the case?
Through the chair, through the president, yes, we do have aging infrastructure, and these funds are available to assist and offset future capital expenditures.
And through, thank you, and through you, Mr. President, would it not also be a savings account to some extent to these people that will not have to, that they won't have the burden of paying for a higher cost at that time because we accumulate this money?
For you, Mr. President, this affords the opportunity to provide rate stabilization for other ratepayers.
Okay, thank you, Mr. President.
Further discussion on the amendment? Yes. Mrs. Cayley.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would say I would support Legislator Haney's amendment to this. I've listened to the discussions of funding going back and forth, and I really believe that when my credit card is paid, I don't have to pay more. And I think that we are paying forward for something that is not even in place. There are no plans. And therefore, I would support this amendment. I think it's time to equalize the rates. I believe that the debt is just about paid. And given the amount of funding that is in that pot, it will probably rebuild itself in a year's time to accomplish what you might be giving back to my district and other districts within the city. Thank you.
Further discussion on the amendment? If not, all those in favor of the amendment, say aye. Aye. Opposed? No. You want a roll call vote?
Yes. Roll call, please.
Mr. Quattro?
No.
Mr. Bronson?
Yes.
Mr. Adair?
No.
Ms. Andrews? Yes. Mr. Barker?
No.
Mr. Beebe?
Yes.
Mr. Cassetti?
No.
Mr. Colby?
No.
Mr. Cruz?
Yes.
Mr. Daniele?
No.
Mr. Dobson?
No.
Mr. Driscoll?
No.
Mr. Eckel?
Yes.
Mr. Esposito?
Yes.
Mr. Gamble?
Yes.
Mr. Gumina?
Yes.
Mr. Haney?
Yes.
Mr. Hannah?
No.
Mr. Hyder?
Yes.
Ms. Kaylee?
Yes.
Mr. LaFountain?
No.
Mr. Lee?
Yes.
Mr. Lightfoot?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. McCann?
No.
Mr. O'Brien?
Yes.
Mr. Tucciarello?
No.
Mrs. Valerio? Mr. Yolovich?
No.
President Zaira?
No.
Motion fails 14-0.
On the main motion, is there any further discussion on the main motion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item carries. We'll now recess the engaged child Ion Sewer District and Northwest Water Pure Waters District, the Ioniquois Bay South Central Pure Waters District, and the Rochester Pure Waters District, and adjourn the Pure Waters Administrative Board. The December 9th, 2008 meeting of the Monroe County Legislature is now reconvened. We will now proceed with the consideration of local laws. Will the clerk please read the first item on the agenda?
Item 1, referral 080310.
Moved by legislator Driscoll, second by legislator Tucciarello and LaFountain. Looking for the table motion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Item carries.
Item 2, referral 080310.
Moved by legislator Driscoll, second by legislators Tucciarello and LaFountain. Any discussion on the motion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Item carries.
Item 3, referral 080301.
Moved by legislator Barker, second by legislators Benita and legislator Hannah. This is for introductory purposes only.
Mr. President, I'd still like to say something on the notes for introductory purposes. I'd like to thank Mr. Benita and Mr. Hannah for their work on this journey, and we look forward to talking more about this next month. We believe that this is a law that's time has come. We assume it will eventually have to be here in the state, but for now, we're helping them on that one. Thank you.
Thank you. Next item.
Item 4, referral
Moved
080301.
by legislator Barker, second by legislator Benita and legislator Hannah. Tabling motion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Item carries.
Item 6, referral 080338, a local law entitled amending Monroe County Code to restrict unauthorized parking on county road property within city limits. I'm sorry. Oh,
We gotta do number 5 first.
item 5, 080301.
Moved by legislators Barker, second by legislator Benita and Hannah. This is setting the public hearing for January 13th at 6:15. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Item carries.
Item 6, referral 080338.
Moved by legislator Yolovich, second by legislator Dobson, introductory purposes only.
Item 7, referral 080338.
Moved by legislator Yolovich, second by legislator Dobson, tabling motion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Item carries.
Item number 8, 080338.
Moved by legislator Yolovich, second by legislator Dobson, setting the public hearing January 13th at 6:16. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Item carries. Going on to the consideration of motions, resolutions, and notices. Clerk, please read the next item on the agenda.
Item number 9, 080322, providing that resolution entitled.
Move it, Mr. President.
Moved by legislator Cassetti, second by legislator LaFountain. This is a lifting from the table motion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Item carries.
Item 10, referral 080322, providing that resolution entitled.
Move it, Mr. President.
Moved by legislator Cassetti, second by legislator LaFountain. Any discussion on the motion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Item carries.
Item 11, referral 080360.
Moved by legislator LaFountain, second by legislator Barker. Looking from the table, all those in favor say